All right, so Nissan Harriman is, of course, rejecting the whole renormalization idea, the cheating on the infinities, and say no. If the infinity's there, we can't just ignore them, and think about that. You have a scientific community that's had, for years just promoting um, a, a sweep under the rug system of approaching reality. You can't, no wonder they've been in sort of such a standstill for so long. And and I would also like to say this and I agree with Harriman about this. Looking deeper and deeper with the higher and higher energies, I believe that is going to become an infinite quest. So the idea is to then examine the nature of the system, not this reductionist keep thinking you're going to get to the bottom of it with greater energies. We've got to remember there's an infinite energy behind it in the first place. So that's what you got to be thinking about. How do you describe, what are the physics of infinite energy systems? So he is proposing, well, let's put it this way. He gets into some rather strange things in terms of looking for evidence for his theory in ancient history and ancient religions. And his theory involves extra-dimensional beings, or not, I'm sorry, excuse me, extraterrestrial beings. See, this is the problem. There is no extra-dimensional in his model, so he's going to fall victim of the very same things that he's now criticizing. Only he's it's going to take him longer. It's going to take him longer to become victimized by his shortcoming. But he's looking at this, for instance, in Genesis chapter 6, where these sons of God came down and had intercourse with women and seeded a whole, sort of a new race, a hybrid race, and so forth. Now he's interpreting this this episode of the Sons of God to be extra-dimensional beings, like a race of biological people that developed in some other planet, came here and visited us. Well, see, the fact that he's not considering extra-dimensionality is the reason I think that he's able to go so far with this blind spot, because the way the Bible describes these are fallen angels. Now, angels, the angelic realm is not the same as ours. Okay, so he's making this assumption that these people are sharing our physics. And I can show you. I mean, this simple illustration shows you why you can't do what Harriman is saying in terms of the traveling and expecting everything to be the same as you say, for instance, enter a black hole. His assumption is you enter a black hole and you go laterally across the universe, maybe say to the center of the galaxy, and then from there you can go to another star or something like that. Well, you see what the problem with that is the assumption that if you enter into this singularity, that it's going to have the same physics. See, I think that what's good, and because you have the finite boundary that you can't escape without going into the singularity. And once you're in the singularity, you have a new physics. You have extra dimensionality. It causes everything to behave differently. We know this from quantum mechanics. We know this from microscopic systems. There's going to be different behavior. His assumption that this is all sort of all taking place in four-dimensional, lateral plane, is going to fall short in the long run. Probably would have happened if you were able to, let's say, the sunspot was a gate to singularity. I mean, I would think that you go in there and you find that you're somewhere totally unrelated, not totally unrelated, but I mean, not related to our physics. Okay, so you're not going to be. Um, well, let me just be. Let's be very sort of crude about this, and I don't mean in a nasty way, but I mean just in sort of a primitive model. You go up there, you're going to start seeing it. You're going to see angels. You're going to see demons. You're going to see things that you don't see here. You're not. It's not going to be just some civilization that's more advanced than art or something like that. And this is, the reason I'm telling you all is because this guy, as smart as he is, he's developed all these theories and so forth. Shares that it's a very common shortfall, and it still stems from an idea that it's a control thing. See, we don't like to model our physics where we're not in control. In fact, when you extrapolate his ideas further, you get into some of this stuff about a feedback loop with reality, and we're contributing to our own reality. We're contributing to our own, creation. We're contributing to the universe in this way. The universe experiences itself through us, and that's the very same temptation that Eve fell victim to. Is how can I construct a worldview that leaves me in control? It's very it's a frightening thing to think about. That everything's in God's control. It's over. It's outside of our ability to to control these things. See, that's the philosophical impetus behind your physics, and behind there was a philosophical impetus behind the Copenhagen interpretation. Let's not entertain any idea that it could be an extra-dimensional reality. We don't like the idea of having something so powerful and intelligent outside of areas that we can control in the universe, and even at the level of Nissim Harriman's ideas, you still have a philosophical control issue. Okay, and he doesn't want to go. And you can tell, like, for instance, the way he handles the Bible. The Bible is just simply the product of people that didn't really understand what was going on. They were experiencing events that were conducted by these extraterrestrials, and interpreting that to be God. But see, if you listen to what I'm saying here, you have a dimensionality problem, and God is on the face value, really God's in behind everything there, and there's satanic. You got to remember the satanic deception. Satan's going to take what God's doing and try to divert it to some other explanation. Extraterrestrials, for instance, say. The control of God over history, for instance. Everybody that wants to make an apologetic for the Bible will say that, look at the history of the Jewish people, known before it took place. It demonstrates that God has an extra-dimensional vantage point. He can experience time in its three dimensions simultaneously, and those sort of things. So, I would sum it up. You want to know where the universe came from and so forth. You have to start with infinite power, infinite energy, infinite wisdom. And let's start looking at the mechanics of how God was able to actually back some of that off. And this would also explain sort of this whole dynamic for expansion. For instance, the retreating, God's retreating, the holy from the common is like an infinite regret.